Background. Bus.
On command, an otherwise quiet street in Dubuque comes to life, temporarily transformed into a Hollywood movie set, 1,200 miles away from Hollywood.
Please do not look at the camera. Like any other day on a city street, the camera's not here. Do not look at us.
But it's hard not to stare. It's not every day a major motion picture is filmed in Iowa. It's not every day Iowans get to come see the bright lights, the cameras, and the stars. The star of Shoeless Joe is heartthrob Kevin Costner.
Here we go. Ready and action.
The movie Shoeless Joe is a movie about a baseball player, but it's not about baseball. It's a movie about an Iowa farmer, but it's not about farming. Shoeless Joe is a movie about dreams coming true, about a son reconciling with his father.
Actually, a story of an Iowa corn farmer who builds himself actually he's out working in his field one afternoon, and the voice from on high talks to him, but it doesn't sound like John Huston imitating God. It sounds like Vin Scully over a baseball stadium PA system. And the guy says, "If you build it, he will come."
What Kevin Costner believes the voice is telling him, in the role of the Iowa farmer, is if he builds a baseball diamond in his cornfield, his father's idol, Shoeless Joe Jackson of the 1919 Chicago White Sox, will come back to life to play baseball once again. It's a comedy, producers say, that will give you a good, warm feeling by movie's end.
Everybody that's read it has said, wow, I got to do this movie. I mean, a lot of times in our business, we'll have to go out and convince an actor or a director to do a project and, give them a song and dance why they should do it. In this case, boy, I mean, everybody that read the script just says, I have to do this picture.
One of the people who said that is actor Kevin Costner, a hot ticket at the box office these days.
Well, I like movies. I'm not necessarily a fan of sequels. And I like for movies to have a fresh, original feeling, and this movie has that. I mean, it's kind of thing that when you go into the theater, you want that to happen. I believe that people don't want to know what happens in a movie and want to think that the story is something they haven't heard before. That's what I like.
It's no accident the movie Shoeless Joe is being filmed in Iowa. Even though it's a movie about an Iowa farmer, the producers considered locations in Canada, Colorado, Nebraska, and Illinois before choosing Iowa. It was the Iowa Film Office that sold the state to the movie's makers. The job of the film office is to act as a liaison between movie companies and the towns where they film, and to make the state an attractive location for movie producers. Before the Iowa Film Office was established in 1986, there was no central agency to handle the thousands of inquiries from the movie industry.
Give me a reason. Let's be reasonable. Somebody give me $1,500 for this job. Give me a reason. Just be reasonable.
Ask him to be reasonable. Ask him to work out something with the Ivy.
So you can take our equipment. Tomorrow you can come out here and you can haul off all our stock. But when you come out to pull us off this land, you better come with more than a piece of paper. Because we're safe. We're safe right here.
Despite not having a central agency, movie makers still came to Iowa to film such productions as Country, yet the movies, Pennies from Heaven, Children of the Corn, and others, were few and far in between. So the state took a gamble and created the Iowa Film Office. It's a gamble that has paid off, with more movie producers coming to Iowa.
When we first started really tracking this was about 3 years ago, and the film office brought in about $1.5 million into the state from the film industry. Last year that took a 100% jump and went to $3.5 million. And this year it's up to $7.5 million. So we're taking 100% jumps every year. So it's growing all the time for us.
Growing perhaps, but it's still a very small piece of the multi-billion-dollar movie location business. Competition among the states for the glitter of Hollywood is fierce. And the more a film office can do for a filmmaker, the greater chance it has of winning the hearts and pocketbooks of a film's producers.
What it does, it takes the amount of research that I would normally have to do myself, and it cuts about maybe 4 months of research time off of what I would have to do should Wendol Jarvis's office not exist. I would have to come out here. I would have to send a staff out here. I'd have to put together all of the research facilities. What Wendol Jarvis and his team do for me is right at my fingertips. I pick up a phone call and go, I need, where do I find? And boom, it's there, right there now.
To make the Iowa Film Office more competitive with other states, Iowa lawmakers doubled the budget for the office from $55,000 last year to $114,000 this year. It's a textbook case of it takes money to make money.
Last year, for every dollar invested in the film office, $147.63 were returned to the people of Iowa. And I think any broker would love to make an investment like that. And so I'm quite pleased with that return.
Much of that money stays in the towns where the movies are filmed. But towns like Dubuque gain much more than just economic benefits from having the movies come to town. They have the pride of seeing their towns and residents up on the silver screen. Plus, they get to mingle with the stars, get their autographs, and see that these Hollywood folks aren't much different than they are.
I am nothing. I am worthless slime. I am lower than a snail on a hot day. That's me down there. However, with this, in an apple, but with this director, I can do it all. I can make hand gestures. I can, I can cut.
No release date is set yet for the movie Shoeless Joe, but it's likely we could see it in the theaters by next spring. And it may not be long before another movie begins filming in Iowa. The Iowa Film Office is working on 42 other projects right now, which include several major motion pictures.
Quiet, please, folks. Here we go. Rehearsal is up.
I'm Dana Carden reporting for Time Capsule.
This is 5 TV Newsmakers. Filmmaking in Iowa is the subject for today. Our guest newsmakers are Wendol Jarvis, manager of the Iowa Film Office of the Department of Economic Development, and Lindy Stroud, communications specialist with the Iowa Department of Economic Development. Joining program host Betty Lou Varnum in questioning our guests is 5 TV News producer Roger Riley.
Thank you very much for joining us, and first of all, it is Lindy Stroudel.
Thank you.
We're delighted that both of you are with us. We're going to be talking about filmmaking in Iowa. We've heard so much about it recently because of the recent premiere and the opening of the movie, and Roger has a special piece to let all of our viewers know what that was all about.
That's right, Betty Lou. Just several days ago, we had the movie called Field of Dreams make its premiere here in Iowa in the city of Dubuque. And here at 5 TV, we sent reporter Lauren Collier and photographer Don Campbell to take a look at the premiere.
The glamour, the lights, the stars, the stars. Where are the stars? I have been looking for Kevin Costner. Tell me, has he snuck in the back way?
If he has, it's not to my knowledge. I haven't seen him.
Are you sure neither of you are in this film?
Well, I have to say I wasn't in it. They didn't have black players in those days.
Oh, well, maybe there weren't any real Hollywood stars here for the world premiere, but so what? The most important thing is more and more producers are choosing Iowa as a place to film.
This motion picture is about Iowa. It's about the ethic that grows from the ground. It's about the society that grew and was built here. To make this movie any other place? I don't think so.
Hey, do you realize how much this land is worth?
Yeah. Yeah. $2,200 an acre.
Well, and you gotta realize we can't keep a useless baseball diamond in the middle of rich farmland.
This film brought in about $5.6 million, but in the past 3 or 4 years, we brought in about $27 million into the state, not just Dubuque, but all areas of the state.
Hey, is this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
And it could be heaven for Hollywood producers as they come knocking on Iowa's door. Reporting from Dubuque, by the way, I never did find Kevin Costner. I'm Lauren Collier, 5 TV News.
Well, one man you saw in that story from Dubuque is a man primarily responsible for bringing that film crew and others to Iowa, and he is Wendol Jarvis, and he joins us here today. First of all, a little bit about that film. I guess you went to the premiere. What did you think, first of all?
Well, I'll tell you, I was very pleased. When I first started working on the project about 2 years ago, I knew from the start this was a very special film, and it had to be shot in Iowa because of what I believed would be done for the state, and quite definitely it's lived up to all of my expectations and all the expectations of the director and the producer as well. I couldn't be happier for this project. I know when everyone goes out and sees that, they'll see it with the same pride that I have for Iowa.
And when you think of the value of having the line, Is this heaven? No, this is Iowa, I mean to say. For the Iowa Development Commission, that has to be about as good as it comes.
Wonderful advertising. Absolutely.
Linda, you were responsible for the premiere itself.
I worked with the community of Dubuque, specifically the area chamber of commerce up there, in coordinating between the two offices the event that would pull, my goodness, something 20 statewide media and surrounding states in, not to mention 600-700 people to the first showing, a good couple hundred to the second showing. It's fun to do behind-the-scenes work because you start with a concept and what you want to do, and then you watch it build and watch it grow, and then it happens, as it did Thursday night. He's proud of the picture. I'm proud of the picture too, but I'm very proud of how Thursday night went, and I think everybody had a fabulous time, and that's what it's all about.
It's also about the money that was being mentioned. Tell us again what this particular movie meant in terms of economics to the state.
Well, when the producers came in, they were in Iowa for about a 6-month period of time working on the project, but they dropped about $5.6 million into Iowa when they filmed, and most of that money came within about a 2, maybe 3-month period of time. So when it hit real hard and left people with a lot of smiling faces afterwards.
Tell about the standing in the field and seeing the telephone poles and the wires.
Well, on any project, when you're trying to bring it in, there's many, many months of what we call location scouting, and that's in the very, very beginnings of the project. And I'm working with the director and the producer on that, and we've been traveling Iowa's back roads for months looking for this magical place. And one time, and it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was cold, and there were some snow flurries out there, and we would just as soon like to stay in the car, but we came over the top of the hill, and Phil, the director, screamed out, "Stop the car, this is it." And we jumped out, and we wandered all the way through this guy's field. We climbed his fence, eventually went up and knocked on his door, and tried to convince him that we were legitimate and we really wanted to make a movie on his farm, but no, we found this place, and it was almost perfect. And the director said, he said, "Wendell, you see those power lines?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Let's lose the lines." So we ended up moving the power lines for this film, and the film company, of course, paid for that expense of rerouting the power for that 250,000 customers, and then moving them back, which they just did about a month ago, back to the original location. But it's things like that you have to do to create the kind of feeling on the screen that the director wants to communicate to the audience. And we might look and we might think, well, why in the world would you go with all the money in moving power lines? But that needed to be done so it wouldn't distract you when you see the film.
Why are film companies coming to Iowa and to other states?
Well, they're coming for a couple of different reasons. The first lure is they can come here and make a film for less money because there are a lot less expenses and a lot less aggravation to film on location compared to some areas like in the greater Los Angeles area or perhaps New York and that kind of thing. And also the audience, you and I, when we go see films, we have become so highly sophisticated that we're not accepting painted backgrounds anymore, and we don't believe that everything in life happens within Los Angeles. We want to see real locations and real stories. So when they make a film on location, everybody comes out the winner. The audience does because we can see a picture that is more believable. The director does because he's able to take his craft to another level of higher integrity for that film. And the areas where they film get the biggest bonus. They get the money from all of that. Because when a film company comes in, they leave two things behind. They leave money and they leave memories.
Has the reaction been wonderfully warm and accepting from the people in the locales where the films have been shot?
Yes, it really has, because we've asked for some very unusual things, and that's characteristic of a film company, and they've accepted that, and they've just loved to be part of the process. For example, with Field of Dreams, we had to plow down a gentleman's corn, actually 2 farmers, because the ball field is located on 2 separate farms. We had to take out a fence row, and we had to disrupt their whole planting schedule. We had to level their ground and do all kinds of things, and the people are very tolerant of that. Another example in the film Field of Dreams, you'll see a situation there where Kevin Costner goes to Boston, and in fact a very heavily Jewish area in Boston. Well, that was shot in Dubuque.
Central Street.
Central Street,
right.
Yes, and Lindy was up there with me.
It's incredible.
And we had to do simple things for that. We had to convert a one-way street into a two-way street. We had to rip up the concrete on the sidewalks and plant trees. We had to repaint all of the buildings. We had to move some of the people out of the shops. We had to put all kinds of signage up.
Fresh fish
In the windows. We had to change all the stoplights. We had to repaint city buses so they were the color of the ones that you find in Boston. We had to lay cable track up so it looked like it was a trolley car. Right. It was just unbelievable. We spent $250,000 on that one scene that you'll see for maybe a minute in the whole film. And that's fine. I do as much money as they want to keep spending here. I'll let them do that.
Roger? I was just going to say, wouldn't it be cheaper in that case, maybe to take the production, part of the production, to Boston for a few days?
Well, as a matter of fact, it's not. Now, they did shoot a couple of days in Boston. There's a couple of scenes that you'll see of Fenway Park and one master shot of the skyline that was taken there. But it is so expensive to make a move like that it is much less expensive to create the look where they're at if they can.
Now, for Field of Dreams, you had to create a kind of a look with a lot of involving a lot of people from Iowa. I understand that was quite a task to pull off.
Well, I think you're talking about the end shot in the movie. Right. What we had to do was coordinate 1,500 cars, and there were 2 passengers in each car. That's 3,000 people, and we needed to control all those people in those vehicles for about 6 hours.
We had to get 1,500 people, 1,500 cars that will do it, and I can remember getting a panic phone call. You know, we need them by a certain time. This is what we're going to do for them, but we need them. And I can remember doing the rounds at the radio stations in Des Moines, literally calling cars.
And calling all cars. But no, and Lindy's been very, very helpful in situations like that when we need a lot of people. But the coordination of that aspect, which you'll see for, again, seconds on the screen, but it's so tremendously dramatic to the film. We had to have ambulances on board in case someone got hurt. Thank God no one did. We had to have tow trucks in case some of the cars stalled, and we only had 6 stall in 1,500 vehicles. We had to have a gas truck for people that ran out of gas. We had to have walkie-talkie communication. We also communicated to all the drivers through one of the local radio stations there. And there was just a tremendous logistical effort. We worked on that shot for 3.5 months trying to coordinate that thing. And it turned out spectacular. We had like an 18-minute window to get our shot. We had to get 1 shot. We hoped to get 2, and things were so well oiled they actually got 3 shots with a helicopter lifting off the ball field and panning across the cars and going off into infinity, and looking down and seeing all the twinkling lights from the headlights from the cars converging on this location. So we really economized there and got them some good scenes.
It would have been fun to hear you twittering in the audience when the scenes came on, the ones that you'd worked so hard on. And these are all scenes that you can look for when you go to see the movie. We'll be talking more about it and other film projects in Iowa after these messages.
Are we still looking at $3.5 million per production?
We open with a flashback. It's 1985, and Wendol Jarvis is working part-time for the Iowa Film Office, producing part-time results. There has been an occasional movie made here, like Fist, Take This Job and Shove It, and Country. But work in the film office is frustrating.
When you're working on a one-person, or in our case here, a half-time basis, it's difficult. It's a challenge.
The next year, Jarvis is promoted to full-time film office manager, and the move really pays off. Film production doubles, then doubles again to over $7 million in fiscal 1987-88. Several million were spent in the Worthington and Cedar Rapids areas because Richard Gere and Kevin Anderson were miles from home.
You see, you boys are bigger news around here than the damn weather.
Even though this fiscal year is only 5 months old, almost $7 million worth of filming has already been developed. That figure would be even higher if production of Another World in Cedar Rapids wasn't postponed to another year. Still, this year's credits already include Shoeless Joe and Zadar Cow from Hell and the TV show Coach.
Stand by. Group number 1. Let's go ahead and walk.
Why has Iowa turned into a Midwest mecca for movie makers? Locations, locations, locations.
I insist that they film here. I tell them that that Iowa has the visual looks for them, and I'm going to make this the very best possible shooting experience for them possible. And I leave them with no other choice but to film here.
That enthusiasm isn't lost on film producers either.
A little bit more, maybe.
LA is very, as far as people are so cynical about it, and they don't feel, you know, they're very money hungry and everything. And all around the country, elsewhere, and especially Iowa, people are very generous. They're willing to spend the time to help you out, and it's a great place to shoot. It's beautiful.
The people and the cooperation there, to me, was something that was unique.
And now that Iowa has several major films under its money belt, the state is getting some great word of mouth from some very influential mouths.
I think of Iowa very much as America, the best that America has to offer.
In the film, you know, a character says 2 different times, is this heaven? And Kevin's character says, no, it's Iowa. And at the end of the film, he says, you know, maybe this is heaven. I mean, this is sort of a love letter to Iowa, this movie also.
Iowa Film Office, this is Wendell.
When it comes to making Hollywood contacts, it helps to be a good receiver. In 1983, Wendol Jarvis's film office received only 600 inquiries for filming. But last year, that number grew to 3,600.
Can I check on that and get back to you later on?
And when Wendell calls me and he says, Governor, call this producer, call this director, I make those calls because I know it can make a difference and I've seen the results.
Being a film office manager is certainly no desk job, though. Jarvis also travels around the state, scouting for just the right kind of filming locations. During the past couple of years, those locations have been mostly in eastern Iowa, and it's no coincidence. The only city-run film offices in the state are in Cedar Rapids and Dubuque.
It's kind of a gamble. You never know if you'll get anything you hope. And this summer we got real fortunate and got Shoeless Joe, which was a very nice film. And they spent about $5.5 million in our community in about a 3 or 4 month period.
We passed a law which eliminates the withholding tax to filmmakers when they film in Iowa.
To really attract movie makers and their money, though, Jarvis knows he has to go out of his way. To the Location Expo in Los Angeles last winter, and this fall to the Cinetex trade show in Las Vegas.
You have to go to the filmmakers to tell them that you want their business, and that's what I do. And I go and meet one-on-one with the filmmakers, and I insist that they film in Iowa. I insisted they film Shoeless Joe there. I insisted they film Miles from Home, and they filmed those projects and a number of others, and I think that's what it takes.
Some have criticized the Iowa Film Office for spending state money to go to places like Los Angeles and Las Vegas. But Jarvis says it's a gamble that has definitely paid off.
The LA trip, for instance, helped Iowa land the now delayed production of the movie Another World, much to the chagrin of Jarvis's competition.
Well, Wendell, that snake, has gotten a lot of films away from us, but Wendell's very good. And we're very similar to a certain extent, particularly eastern Kansas to most of Iowa. And so if a company calls us or a company calls Wendell, they're not only calling us, but they're calling Nebraska and Illinois and all the Midwestern region plus Canada.
Yes, there is a war of sorts between the states for movie dollars, but it's a civil war.
Our objective is really to encourage producers from California or New York to come to the Midwest, and we'll all get our share sooner or later.
Last fall, of course, producers came to the Midwest to film Miles from Home in Worthington. We'll see how Richard Gere and company affected that town in my next report.
It was great.
Cops are coming.
Gary Sarnoff, News Center 7.
I shouldn't have sent you into town. I knew it. I just decided to think straight.
Why did you come to Worthington today?
I wanted to see Richard Gere.
When the producers of Miles from Home decided to film in Little Worthington, Iowa, it was big news.
This whole story's been on TV.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a lot of excitement, and we don't have just too much of that in Worthington. It was great.
For merchants, Miles from Home produced Smiles from Home.
No, it increased business quite a bit. There was a lot of people coming in and out every day of the week just to see what was going on.
Actually, the millions in movie money spent in Worthington is still changing hands. And that's the word from Mayor Eldon Trum. He was a wrangler and farm advisor for the film, and his farm turned into a movie set.
Go. Keep the truck between you and them. They'll never spot you.
Co-stars Richard Gere and Kevin Anderson even lived on Trum's farm for 5 weeks.
Well, he went with me day to day around here, and we did the farm work as we needed to do, and he wanted to know all about livestock, pigs, cattle, about raising corn, raising any crops, harvesting the crops. He learned very quickly, and he was very interested in what was going on.
Yeah, that was.
Gere and Anderson also lived in the Dick and Helen Schneer home, and even burned the place to the ground.
We were all sitting down by the bridge down there and halfway down the lane, and I know I was sitting on a chair and I jumped off the chair when they started it. It was kind of scary. You really didn't know what was going to happen.
Actually, special effects allowed just the outside layer of wallboard to burn. In return for their troubles, the Schneers got a completely remodeled and repainted home, along with the opportunity to see their place preserved for posterity.
It was real exciting to see the farm in the movie. After watching them film the thing last year, we were anxious to see just what was all in it and what was left out.
It's just the way things go.
So on the whole, Worthington gave Miles from Home a big thumbs up, in more ways than one.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I was over there practically every time they were making it. I'd go bowling or something, I'd come back at 1 o'clock, I'd go out to watch the movie made.
Is Worthington ever going to be the same?
I don't think so. It was great.
A lot of activity in town, a lot of money was spent, in different places, different people.
Yeah, I wish they'd shot another one this year again.
Slate this.
What about the future of films in Iowa? We'll check out the chances for coming attractions tonight at 10.
We have a tremendous amount of potential for growth.
Gary Sarnoff, News Center 7.
Some fat cat getting this place for peanuts.
Right.
Rather burn it down.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do, Terry.
What?
You with me or not?
So what'd you do? Not sex criminals, are you?
No.
Wish my husband would have done something like what you boys did.
I know we're in trouble, but it's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the way things go sometimes.
I don't want to hear about it, Terry. It's my responsibility. I'll worry about it. All right, get your hands up, officer. Hands up. Get your hands up. Up! Up! Okay, take his gun. What? Take his gun! All right.
Damn it! What do you think this is, man? You think this is a game?
Why don't you come back with me tonight, Terry? Let's get you out of this.
I bet I could sell an interview. Yeah, some newspaper. You boys are bigger news around here than the damn weather.
I don't have to make no excuses to you. People built this country.
That's probably true, Frank. That was a long time ago, and the country that they built just doesn't exist anymore.
This next round is on me. We're gonna drink until we fall out.
Don't you know how hard this makes it?
What?
Getting away. Having a future.
There is no future.
Richard Gere, Kevin Anderson, Miles from Home, from Cinecom Pictures.
It's a fable, it's a modern fable, but played completely realistically.
Dr. Graham?
Writer-director Phil Alden Robinson brings to the screen a story for our times, a story about renewed hope and second chances for dreams to come true. With Kevin Costner, James Earl Jones, Burt Lancaster, Amy Madigan, Ray Liotta, and Tim Busfield in Universal Studios' new film, Field of Dreams.
Everybody who worked on this film came on as if a voice had told them, do this one, make this picture.
Kevin Costner steps into a realm of imagination as 1960s idealist Ray Kinsella, a man who leads an uneventful life until he hears the voice.
If you build it, he will come.
If you build what, who will come?
He didn't say.
I hate it when that happens.
And the voice is so strong that he has to follow. He hasn't invented the visions, and he hasn't invented the voice.
Amy Madigan is Ray's wife, Annie. She's only slightly skeptical.
Hey! What if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Together, they're a team of true believers.
If you really feel you should do this, then you should do it.
So it is really kind of an act of faith and a leap of faith for Annie and Ray to say, okay, we are going to do this, and they together as a unit to believe in this magic that happens. And they do, and it does happen to them. Ta-da!
With unyielding faith, Ray Kinsella follows the voice of hope, and Chicago Black Sox star Shoeless Joe Jackson returns from the troubled past to relive his dream. He's played by Ray Liotta.
I come back at 33 years old, and so there's an insight, too, that you get from being dead and coming back and thinking for your life a while up there.
Shoeless Joe symbolizes for a lot of people the dream deferred. Helping Shoeless Joe achieve his dream is how Kevin's character starts on the road to realizing his dream.
If we handle it correctly, then we'll have made a very tender movie in very tainted times.
On the way to realizing his dreams, Ray Kinsella encounters James Earl Jones as embittered author Terrence Mann.
I was hoping I wasn't going to have to do it this way.
What the hell is that?
It's a gun. What do you think it is?
It's your finger.
He's the former voice of the 1960s who turned against his dreams a long time ago.
You're a pacifist!
What really has happened to Ray Kinsella is tantamount to a flying saucer landed in his backyard. And my character doesn't know that yet, but he knows something funny is going on.
I was hoping I could just convince you to come with me.
Why?
Something will happen there. I don't know what, but we'll find out when it does.
What happens to Burt Lancaster as Doc Moonlight Graham, a man who came close to but could never touch his dream.
And is there enough magic out there in the moonlight to make this dream come true?
What would you say if I said yes?
I think I'd actually believe you. He was a real character. His great ambition in life was to be a ball player. He never realized it. Kevin Costner says, it was a tragedy that a man like you was so close to it. So close to it, and you didn't reach out and take it. And the doc says, son, if I'd only gotten to be a doctor for 5 minutes, now that would have been a tragedy.
Guarding the home front, Amy Madigan quiets a crowd that wants to censor the dreams of others.
At least he is not a book burner, you Nazi cow. Fine! Annie! Who's for the Bill of Rights? Who thinks freedom is a pretty darn good thing?
I don't know, I think that kind of says a lot about her. It's like the mouse that roared. Don't push her too far, because she actually will stand up and open her big mouth and tell you what she thinks, which is kind of like me, actually.
At the same time, she struggles with her doubting brother Mark, played by 30-something's Tim Busfield, who can't buy into the dream.
Annie, you got no choice in the matter.
I think that Mark also represents not just being a bad guy, but what anybody in the real world would see. He's the only outsider. And in his mind, they flipped out.
Ray, it's time to put away your little fantasies and come down to earth.
It's not a fantasy, Mark. They're real.
Who is real?
You risk everything in your home life to do it, and what happens is your dream comes true, can come true, and ultimately you're rewarded beyond your most wildest dreams.
For all the film's characters, the moment of truth and of second chances comes together on the field of dreams.
Unbelievable.
It's more than that. It's perfect. You
you think of movies in the past, you think of great scenes, you know, you never forget them. And I think that's what movies are supposed to strive for, things that you'll never forget in your life.
People will come, Ray.
You're broke, Ray. You sell now or you lose everything.
This field, this game, it's a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Bringing Field of Dreams to the screen took a long-term commitment from Phil Alden Robinson.
Making this movie was throwing caution to the wind. It took me 6 years to get the picture made, during which time pretty much everybody in town said, you cannot make a movie out of this story.
But producer Larry Gordon believed in the story and wanted to make the film.
The screenplay is lovely, and it does have a lot of humor, and it also makes you cry. I mean, but it also has to be made perfectly to work. I mean, it can't. There's no margin for error as there is in an action film. Phil brings to it a focus that makes it a story you must watch.
I want to know what's out there. I want to see it.
But you're not invited.
I would like to believe that dreams can come true. I would like to believe that good can win out over evil, and I'd like to believe that you could reach back into the past and change the bad stuff and make it come out right.
Is there a heaven? Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
I think there's a lot of times in your life when you wish a voice would come to you. You wish something would tell you what to do. The voice to become an actor was that clear to me.
If you build it, he will come.
In Universal Studios' Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner enters the world of imagination as spirited idealist Ray Kinsella.
If you build it, he will come.
He's a man who follows the voice of hope over the better understood voices of reason.
If you build what, who will come?
You didn't say.
I hate it when that happens.
I think I know what "if you build it, he will come" means.
Are you actually thinking of doing this?
No.
But he throws caution to the wind anyway, and following his instincts gives in to the voice.
I have just created something totally illogical.
Here, Chicago Black Sox star Shoeless Joe Jackson comes from decades ago to relive his dream.
You have to buy into it as being real. If we handle it correctly, then we'll have made a very tender movie in very tainted times.
Early on, the reality of Costner's own life was a career in business before he threw caution to the wind and took up acting.
See if you can hit my curve.
Today, he pursues his craft with as much vigor as Ray Kinsella pursues his dreams.
Well, we're dealing with primal forces of nature here, all right? When primal forces of nature tell you to do something, the prudent thing is not to quibble over details.
Yeah, but why do you have to go? Huh? Why can't the voice send somebody else? How about Shirley MacLaine? What, is she too busy?
My job is to just be as seamless as possible and a storyteller. The rap I always get that is that, you know, well, you're natural. That's not true. That's not true. I work at trying to make it seem natural. I work at trying to make it seem like it's the first time it ever came out of my mouth.
For co-star Amy Madigan, Costner's main appeal comes from the truth and honesty he brings to the screen.
He does it in a very, very simple and concrete and straightforward and honest way. There's something about him that people think, I could know this guy, I could probably have a beer with this guy, I could sit down and talk to him.
I think I have to be in movies like this. It's probably our generation's It's a Wonderful Life.
Moonlight Graham.
You
on!
Award-winning actor James Earl Jones is best known for the powerful, almost mythical quality he brings to his roles. Now he stars opposite Kevin Costner in Universal Studios' Field of Dreams.
We got a learning disability here?
Mr. Mann, if I could just have 1 minute, please.
He's reclusive author Terrence Mann, former voice of the 1960s, whose dreams for that generation have long since faded.
I don't do causes anymore.
This isn't a cause. I don't need money or an endorsement.
You're from the 60s.
Well, yeah, actually.
Ow, hey! Back to the 60s.
Wait a
back.
second.
There's no place for you here in the future. Get back while you still can.
This man is, I think, running away from a certain openness that the 60s represented, that being a liberal represented.
With an urgent sense of destiny, Costner's Ray Kinsella tries to kidnap his way into Terrence Mann's life.
I was hoping I wasn't going to have to do it this way.
What the hell is that?
It's a gun. What do you think it is?
It's your finger.
And I realized, you're not really a kidnapper, are you? That's not what you do, is it? It gets at my character's funny bone, and he sees what he used to be.
So you are kidnapping me?
I was hoping I could just convince you to come with me.
Giving in to what he used to be, Mann heads off with Ray Kinsella to a world of renewed dreams and second chances.
Unbelievable.
It's more than that. It's perfect.
I think there happens a union between essentially Ray's soul and Mann's soul. He's open, he's innocent, he's a pure person. And my character sees that.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
In casting Jones for the role, writer-director Phil Alden Robinson found an actor who could play both strength and whimsy.
He has this wonderful childlike openness to new ways of expressing himself and new ways of seeing things and feeling things, and it's very charming. I think he's an extraordinary talent, just extraordinary.
Roll, please.
Thanks, Doc.
No, son. Thank you.
Oh, my God. You can't go back. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. I best be getting back home before Alicia gets to thinking I gotta go.
And cut. That's a cut. Very nice. Stand by. And action.
What do we got here?
She fell.
There we are. Hot dog stuck in her throat. She'll be all right now. A minute or two, she'll be turning handsprings.
Good, cut. Tim, when Kevin lunges, if she could go, if you'd give her help to go more this way.
Right.
Okay, and she should go a little sooner.
Okay, yeah, I can. That was my fault. I realized that.
And if you can, I'm not 18. Look,
they do hurt.
That time's of your film. Don't forget over.
What happened to her?
Yeah, but I know where I'm going in the movie.
Well,
I'm going around in the movie.
It's happening so fast. It's too fast to think about it. Okay. So it looks best. It looks scarier if you're not looking down. Okay.
Nuts.
I mean, come on, Annie, Ray, look. I mean, you build a baseball field in the middle of nowhere and you sit here and you stare at nothing. You turn your daughter into a damn space kid. Look, I'm trying to help you.
And then I said, it's all right. And then you said, you can't, but you can't. But you kind of said, but don't you understand? Like, and I said, it's all right. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So it kind of rested.
Could I try that one time? Thanks.
Go right away, please.
Says, oh my God, you can't go back.
That's all right.
I'm sorry, but you can't go back.
It's all right.
But remember, the first one is you can't go back, can you?
You can't go back, can you?
Okay. So it's like you don't.
Let me come in
know.
cleanly. It's all right. And then I don't care what you do because I'll override you.
Okay.
See?
They're saying.
I don't want to say it twice, no.
No, you
James
should.
is saying it.
He's saying it.
Yeah, right,
Are
I'm
you
not
saying
saying
it?
it.
You're not saying it?
No, I'm not. I'm not. So it's kind of like when it first come in, it's like,
Should we get the car?
the first that day is she all right? Oh my God, she's not breathing. All right, Mark, all right. And that's what James said, should I get the car? I don't think we should.
Stand by. And action.
Is she all right? Is she breathing? Oh my God, she's not breathing. Mark!
Car?
No, it's when you're gonna drive. Annie, wait.
What?
Wait. Just wait. He hears it, but he resists it. But things are so clear eventually, and the voice is so strong that he has to follow. He hasn't invented the visions, and he hasn't invented the voice. And the voice has sought him out, and he's a good steward of it. And I want to make movies that you'll just, there's parts of them that you'll just never ever forget. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but that's my hope going in. When you think of movies in the past, you think of great scenes. You never forget them, and I think that's what movies are supposed to strive for. Things that you'll never forget in your life. I realize that my stock is directly tied to writing. That my stock will rise and fall with good writing. The temptation is that suddenly you can just do anything, and that people will sit still and watch you for 2 hours. I don't think that. I really don't believe that. Not for a second.
It's fantasy. I mean, magic happens in this movie to a family, but it's magic that's not, it's not all sorts of monsters and ships and special effects. It's more magic if something happened to us right now. How would that look? How would normal people get to experience magic in their lives? I think that's part of why she loves this man. He's not Mr. Three-Piece Suit, and he's not the most astute business mind or maybe the best farmer in the world, but I think that's part of the fun why they get along and like each other.
Kevin is very comedian-like in that he can transform himself to this innocent farm boy who's very vulnerable and very open, And that's what the story is really about, openness, He meets Kevin's character, Ray, and he sees what he used to be. Ray is still open from just being Ray. He's open, he's innocent. He's a pure person. And my character sees that, and he gets very uptight about it.
I guess I symbolize their hopes and their dreams, just like baseball symbolizes my hopes and dreams, and I wanted to come back to play. It was actually kind of fun making believe, like, oh my gosh, you've been dead for all these years, and here you are on a baseball field. Seeing and smelling the grass again was kind of neat.
Having the opportunity to see these great heroes again, who've all been dead, is the kind of opportunity that very few people get. It's a realization of a dream come true. Now we have to say, what have we done with our life? What can I look back at with great pride and a sense of well-being and a feeling that I have truly lived? These kind of things are an example of what life is all about.
Mark's job is to sort of represent what all of us would do with anybody, especially family members, who plow up a crop and build a baseball field and sit and eat popcorn and stare at it. And I think that's where he's coming from more than anything. On top of that, he is trying to buy the land. So he is very much a villain. But I think that is what the movie's about in many ways, in that if you feel that passion and that desire to fulfill your dream, don't ignore it. Go after it. Do it. Even if people around, like your brother-in-law, saying you're out of your mind, you're going to lose everything, follow up on it, because that's where your heart will find its peace.
One of the things that interests me about the film is that you don't know what it's about or what it is until it's over. And then all the pieces make sense, and you say, oh, that's what it is. And in so that respect, it's sort of a mystery. I think that one of the things that we had going for us is that Kevin Costner, in addition to being a wonderful actor, has the rare ability to play somebody who can do unexpected things and not make you think he's crazy. And that's a very hard thing for an actor to do, and he does it effortlessly.
This is one of the reasons that this film is a gamble for all of us, which makes it exciting, is that you can't tell it in 2 sentences. You can't. It's not a little concept and TV guide. You know, one of the things I always use as an example of a movie star, a person who is multifaceted in their career, is by using who could play the Gary Cooper role in High Noon. Who could be that vulnerable and yet stand up to those bad guys? Who could do that? I can't think of many guys but Kevin.
I have just created something totally illogical.
That's what I like about it.
If you build it, he will come. If you build it, he will come.
If you build what, who will come?
You didn't say.
I hate it when that happens.
Me too.
Who's hearing voices?
Ray is. I think I know what "if you build it, he will come" means.
Ooh, why do I not think this is such a good thing?
Daddy, there's a man out there on your lawn. Are you a ghost?
What do you think?
You look real to me.
Hi!
You couldn't see it.
This is really interesting.
You believed in the magic. It happened. Isn't that enough?
Annie, it's more than that. I feel it as strongly as I've ever felt anything in my life. There's a reason.
Go the distance.
Did you hear the voice too? Did you hear it?
Go the distance.
Yes.
Doc Grave is dead. He died in 1972.
Are you Moonlight Graham?
No one's called me Moonlight Graham in 50 years.
Unbelievable.
It's more than that. It's perfect.
You build a baseball field in the middle of nowhere, and you sit here and you stare at nothing.
This field, this game, it's a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good.
Hey, is this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Kevin Costner, Amy Madigan, James Earl Jones, Ray Liotta, Burt Lancaster. Sometimes, when you believe the impossible, the incredible comes true. Field of Dreams.